Midnight Whiskers. Shuffling her feet home from the bustling city streets of New Orleans, Lila struggled to keep her eyes open. It was well past 11 p.m., and she had just finished a grueling shift covering for a coworker at the quirky cafe where she worked. Normally, she would be closing up the cafe at 9 p.m., allowing herself to unwind and build up the energy to pursue her dream of becoming a professional painter. Today had been different, though, as her coworker had suffered a minor injury while preparing for a festival. She appreciated the extra hours, of course, but by the end of them, she felt as if she were dragging her body through molasses. On any other Friday evening, she would be sitting on her porch with a glass of sweet tea, trying to capture the vibrant sunset on canvas. But today, any artistic thoughts were drowned out by exhaustion. As Lila finally approached her quaint yellow townhouse, relief washed over her. She could almost hear her easel calling. Without even remembering unlocking her door, she stumbled inside, barely managing to kick off her shoes before leaning against the wall to catch her breath. Just then, Lila glanced out the window, and her heart dropped. At the end of the narrow street, she spotted a small figure illuminated by the moonlight. It looked like a baby raccoon. How bizarre, she whispered to herself, willing her fatigued mind to dismiss it as a trick of the light. But as she leaned closer to the window, she quickly realized the fuzzy creature wasn't a raccoon at all. It was an impossibly cute baby otter, twisting and tumbling on the sidewalk like a tiny ball of fur. Lila's heart raced, not in fear but rather in delight. So cute. Where could it have come from? Was it lost? She rushed to the door, unable to resist the urge to help the little one. Stepping outside, Lila crouched down low, her heart racing with both concern for the otter and her own excitement. "Hey there, little buddy. You lost?" Lila cooed, holding her hand out tentatively. Instead of backing away, the baby otter waddled closer and sniffed her hand, leaving her giggling as the cool nose brushed against her palm. So curious. Before she knew it, Lila scooped the rambunctious creature into her arms, feeling its little heart beating wildly. "You're not supposed to be out here all alone," she said emphatically, cradling it against her chest as she stepped back inside her warm home. Still enveloped in her cozy haven, Lila set the baby otter on her kitchen table, carefully observing it as it wobbled on its feet, tumbling over a piece of fruit. "Okay, my little nugget," she said, "we need to figure out where you came from." As she contemplated the little creature, Lila's mind wandered, wondering if it belonged to her new neighbor, Jasmine, the kind-hearted marine biology student she had seen at the farmer's market. The thought brought a smile to Lila's face, quickly turning into a small sigh of admiration. Jasmine had those captivating green eyes and a contagious laugh that made Lila feel warmth in her chest. Suddenly, the otter rolled onto its back and started playing with a loose string from Lila's sweater, snapping her back to reality. "Right. Focus," she chuckled, remembering her duties as caretaker for the moment. Realizing the baby needed a bath, Lila filled a small bowl with warm water and gently placed the otter inside. As she splashed the water about, the little one squeaked with joy, splashing her right back. Lila erupted into laughter, feeling the last remnants of her exhaustion fade into pure bliss. After a thorough cleaning, Lila wrapped the otter snugly in a towel and let out a long, satisfied sigh. "I'm keeping you, aren't I?" she said, her heart swelling at the thought. Once the otter was purring softly in her lap, Lila decided to settle down with a snack. She took a cookie out of the jar, her little nighttime treat, but the moment she took a bite, the tiny otter sat up, looking at her with wide, expectant eyes. All right. Just a crumb," she relented, reluctantly breaking a piece off and extending it toward the otter. "You better not get used to this," Lila added with a chuckle as the otter devoured the treat. When she finished the cookie, Lila felt her eyelids growing heavy. She scooped the lovely creature back into her arms, the soft thumping of the otter's heartbeat lulling her into sleep. Just as she lay down, there was a soft knock at her door. Curiosity piqued, Lila wrapped the otter in her blanket and opened the door to reveal Jasmine standing there, her green eyes sparkling with surprise as she looked at the adorable creature. "Is that my baby otter?" Jasmine asked with a strong mixture of delight and disbelief. Lila's cheeks flushed, a sheepish grin escaping her lips. I guess she decided to come meet me tonight, she chuckled nervously, heart racing at the prospect of Jasmine being right there in front of her. Jasmine stepped inside, and Lila couldn't help but admire the way their hands brushed against each other softly as they both reached for the otter. In that moment, the warmth radiating from their connection eclipsed Lila's exhaustion, and left her with a giddy feeling so familiar and yet so thrillingly new. Looks like she found a lovely friend, Jasmine said with a sly smile, her gaze locking with Lila's. In that moment, Lila knew that this unexpected encounter was just the beginning of something sweet between them, like homemade cookies on an enchanting New Orleans night. Lila stood there, still cradling the tiny otter wrapped in her blanket as Jasmine stepped closer. The warmth of the room seemed to intensify, and the air was alive with unspoken tension. For a moment, they stood in silence, the sight of the playful baby otter bridging the gap between them. I thought I heard her earlier, Jasmine said, kneeling down to get a better look while gently stroking the otter's back. I'm so sorry for losing track of her. I was just in the backyard trying to figure out the best spot for my plants, and I must have left the door open. It's totally fine, she found her way to the best place possible. Lila replied, her voice bright with excitement. I can't believe I had an unexpected visitor like her tonight. I was just trying to recover from a long shift. Jasmine glanced up from the little creature, her green eyes sparkling like the sun reflecting on water. So you work at that cafe? I've heard wonderful things about it. One of my classmates swears by your desserts. Lila felt a blush creeping to her cheeks as she realized this was more than just a casual conversation about the otter. Yeah, it's a fun place, chaotic sometimes, but I love it. It gives me inspiration for my artwork, you know. Jasmine nodded, her gaze still fixed on Lila, and her smile grew warmer. You're an artist, she asked, enthusiasm apparent in her voice. That's amazing. What kind of art do you do? Mostly painting. I love capturing the soul of the city, the lively streets, and all its characters, Lila explained, feeling buoyed by Jasmine's genuine interest. I've been trying to get more into marine life as well lately. Maybe this little one was a sign. They both laughed and Jasmine looked back at the baby otter. She certainly brought us together. And I doubt she'll mind being the muse for some new artwork. Lila couldn't help but raise an eyebrow playfully. So you think I'm up for the challenge of painting an otter? I think you'll do beautifully, especially with this little squish as your subject, Jasmine said, her voice light and teasing. Lila felt her heart flutter at the implication of authenticity and trust in those words. Actually, Lila said after a moment's thought, inspired by Jasmine's enthusiasm, why don't you join me? We could create a mini art session right now. I have paints and canvases set up in the kitchen. What do you say? Oh, I would love that. Jasmine exclaimed, her eyes shimmering with excitement. But what about your otter friend? Is it safe to let her roam while we paint? Good point. Lila looked down at the otter, who seemed to be content for now, snoozing peacefully. How about we set up a little corner where she can feel included? I could grab one of my bigger canvases and give her a little space to splash around too. Jasmine's laughter was like music, lifting Lila's spirits as they moved together to get the supplies. They spread out old newspaper and grabbed vibrant paints, using the kitchen as a makeshift studio. The baby otter, now fully awake and alert, waddled between them, temporarily captivated by the small puddles of water Lila had poured into shallow dishes. As they painted, the atmosphere between them grew relaxed and playful. Jasmine occasionally leaned over Lila's shoulder to add blobs of color, giggling when she accidentally dripped paint onto Lila's cheek. Lila laughed in return, swiping the side of her finger across Jasmine's nose, leaving behind a streak of cobalt blue. Looks like we're both artists in the making, Jasmine said, her voice soft and warm as she wiped her stained hands across the front of her shirt, an aesthetically flawed but endearing mess. Definitely, Lila replied, her heart racing at the intimate feel of their shared laughter. Besides, art is all about embracing the imperfections, huh? As the night went on, the playful banter and laughter flowed easily, and when Lila looked over her shoulder, she caught glimpses of Jasmine's concentration and passion. The otter had also decided to join in on the fun, splashing water with her little paws and occasionally nibbling at the colorful blobs. As they painted the vibrant strokes of the otter on canvas, Lila and Jasmine exchanged stories, revealing their dreams and aspirations. After sharing tales of their childhoods, filled with vibrant colors and outdoor adventures, the conversation turned more serious. "You know," Jasmine said thoughtfully, her brush hovering over the canvas, "it's really nice to meet someone who gets the importance of creativity and the love for wildlife. So many of my friends just don't understand." "I feel the same way," Lila admitted, unsure of where this conversation would take them, yet feeling a charge in the air. "Art has always been my way of expressing myself, and connecting with nature has become a huge part of my journey." Jasmine's gaze met Lila's, and she smiled softly, a look that seemed to hold deeper meaning. "I think art can be way more than just aesthetics. It tells our stories, evokes feelings, connects us to each other. I thought I'd be alone in this passion, but meeting you tonight feels like destiny." The moment lingered, and Lila felt a rush of warmth blossom in her chest. "Maybe it is," she said quietly. "Maybe the universe had a plan for us both." Just then, the otter climbed into Lila's lap, and with its tiny paws, nudged Lila's chin, as if urging her to focus back on the painting. Lila chuckled softly at the adorable distraction, but Jasmine's gaze didn't waver. "Hey, Jasmine began, her voice a little more serious now, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," Lila replied, feeling an unexpected thrill at the softness in Jasmine's tone. "If you don't mind, could we maybe paint together more often? I've had so much fun tonight, and I'd love to get to know you better," Jasmine offered, a hopeful smile playing on her lips. Lila's heart fluttered at the suggestion. "I would love that. This has been one of the best nights I've had in a while." The two sealed their newfound connection, not just through their shared interests, but through unspoken promises of more art sessions, more laughs, and perhaps the start of something beautiful. As they continued painting side by side, the world outside faded away, leaving only the vibrant colors and two souls intertwining in their own little corner of New Orleans, bound together by creativity, chance, and the unexpected magic of a baby otter. As the vibrant colors of their shared canvas began to take shape, Lila felt a sense of joy budding within her, a warmth she hadn't anticipated when she'd first picked up her paintbrush. Jasmine was a whirlwind of energy and humor, her laughter ringing out like musical chimes that lifted Lila's spirits higher and higher. The baby otter, evidently full of mischief, decided to splash paint everywhere, creating a chaotic scene that would make even the most serious of artists chuckle. "Look at her. We're going to need a tarpaulin for our next session." Jasmine cackled, dipping her brush into a pool of emerald green that mirrored the color of her eyes. "I'm fine with this being the backdrop for our masterpiece," Lila quipped, flicking a glimmer of water in Jasmine's direction, delighting in the way she gasped in surprise. Their painting turned into a wonderful mess, with unintended drips and splatters decorating the canvas, and the aroma of paint swirling around them like the scents from Lila's cafe, reminding her of cinnamon and warm pastries. The entire scene felt to Lila like a beautiful illustration of life, vibrant, imperfect, and wildly unpredictable. As the night wore on, they took turns positioning the otter in the middle of their chaotic tableau, capturing her antics as she playfully rolled around, or poked her head out from underneath the newspapers they had laid out. Eventually, a stillness fell over the room as both women stepped back to admire their work. "This is incredible," Jasmine said, her voice filled with awe as she gestured to the canvas. The colors were indeed vibrant, splashed together in a whirlwind of motion that mirrored the energy of the city and the playfulness of the otter. "It captures everything. The energy, the joy, and yes, even the chaos," Lila agreed, her heart fluttering as she glanced sideways at Jasmine. She was struck again by how her neighbor's presence felt like a revelation, a light in an otherwise weary world. "Would you mind if I took a picture of this?" Jasmine asked playfully, her phone already in hand. It's not every day you get to paint with a gorgeous neighbor and a baby otter. "Yes, but only if you promise to let me paint you too." "We need to capture that smile," Lila teased back, her pulse quickening with the thrill of the connection they were creating. Jasmine paused, her eyes widening in delight. The faint blush on her cheeks did not go unnoticed by Lila, and she felt a rush of encouragement. "Deal. But you have to promise not to leave out my best feature," she quipped. "Oh, what's that?" Lila laughed, leaning closer with newfound confidence. Jasmine tilted her head, eyes sparkling with mock contemplation. "My heterochromia. I know it sets me apart, it's just like those two vibrant colors on our canvas." Ignoring the inkling of nervousness beginning to prickle beneath Lila's skin, she felt a sense of exhilaration course through her. "I'd never leave that out. I think I'll make it the focal point," she said, pleased by the idea of pouring her heart onto the canvas through Jasmine's unique beauty. As their laughter echoed through the kitchen, the warmth of their connection, sometimes heady, sometimes light-hearted, seemed to blend with the colorful chaos they created. Each shared smile, lingering gaze, and playful nudge deepened their bond like layers of paint upon the canvas. Suddenly, the baby otter waddled over to Lila, tugging at the hem of her pajama pants with an insistent squeak. Okay. Lila laughed, bending down to pick the little one up. "What's wrong, little troublemaker? Are you ready for a break?" Jasmine took the opportunity to snap a quick photo of Lila cradling the adorable creature. "That could be my new favorite picture." Instantly heart-melting. Lila couldn't help but join in the laughter, realizing how utterly delightful this evening had spiraled into a memorable experience filled with art, laughter, and a connection she hadn't expected. As they cleaned up the remnants of their paint-filled night, Lila felt a newfound sense of determination building inside her. "You know what, Jasmine? I'm going to challenge myself this week. I'm going to paint more, sketch every day, even if it's just quick doodles. And I'd love to invite you to join me." Jasmine paused mid-cleanup, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Are you serious? I'd love to. We could take turns leading painting sessions and try different styles. Maybe we can even paint outside when it gets warmer." Lila's heart soared at the thought. "It's a plan. But just to be clear, that also means you'll have to teach me all about marine life, right?" "Absolutely," Jasmine said, beaming with enthusiasm. "Marine biology and painting. It's a combination I can definitely get behind." They stood side by side, chatting about their dreams and aspirations as they cleared away the evening's remnants. The baby otter flopped around like a little ball of energy, poking its nose into every crevice, providing momentary distractions with its antics. Finally, with all the sprightly chaos contained, Lila turned to Jasmine. "Do you want to watch a movie? I have a fantastic collection, and I just made a huge batch of popcorn," she suggested, feeling the cozy vibe of the night wrap around them like a soft blanket. "Only if we can watch something whimsical. I'm more about the fantasy genre, you know." Jasmine replied lightheartedly, settling onto the cozy couch as she kicked off her shoes. "Agreed. No horror films tonight, just lighthearted fun," Lila said, planting herself beside Jasmine and gathering the baby otter into her lap. As they began to watch the film, the atmosphere became increasingly snug, the couch a sanctuary where art and laughter had brought them together. The bond they were forming felt like the strokes of a brush on canvas, tender, intentional, cohesive. As the movie played on, Lila glanced over at Jasmine, who seemed delightfully engrossed in the story unfolding. The look of joy on her face was magnetic, drawing Lila into a deeper connection, one tied not just through paint and laughter, but through shared stories and understanding. At that moment, Lila realized how much she had longed for this kind of connection. It felt unfamiliar yet overwhelmingly comforting. She turned her gaze back at the screen, her heart racing, knowing they were only at the start of this journey together, an adventure full of art, joy, and perhaps something even deeper yet to come. As the credits began to roll, Lila felt the warmth of Jasmine's shoulder brushing against her own, and in that small, simple touch, she found herself even more intrigued by the possibilities that lay ahead. This was no longer just about painting, it was about weaving colors, emotions, and lives together through each moment. "Okay, you owe me a drawing of what you think our little otter adventure looks like," Jasmine said playfully, breaking through Lila's thoughts. Lila grinned. "Deal. But you'll have to model for me while I work on capturing those mesmerizing eyes, 2 colors like the sea itself. I can definitely do that, Jasmine laughed, and as their playful exchange continued, Lila was struck with the feeling that perhaps, just perhaps, the universe had indeed sent her this unexpected connection for a reason. And so, under the glow of the moonlight streaming through the window, Lila and Jasmine continued to explore their newfound friendship, painting, laughing, and nurturing the seeds of something beautiful that had just begun to bloom. As the moon hung high in the New Orleans sky, casting a silvery glow over the cozy living room, Lila felt a sense of contentment envelop her like a warm hug. The laughter, the shared anecdotes, and the vibrant splashes of paint on their canvas created a tapestry of experiences that she knew would forever be etched in her memory. With the movie credits rolling, Lila turned her head to look at Jasmine, who was still animatedly discussing plot points, her green eyes sparkling with passion. It filled Lila with joy to see her neighbor so engaged, and in a moment of spontaneity, she reached out, nudging Jasmine's shoulder playfully. "Okay, so who's your favorite character?" Lila asked, genuinely curious about Jasmine's perspective. "Honestly, I love the artist in the film, the way she sees beauty in the mundane. It's inspiring," Jasmine replied, her voice humming with excitement. Then she shot Lila a grin. "But I think you might be my favorite character tonight." Lila felt a blush creep onto her cheeks, but she wasn't deterred. "Flattery will get you everywhere, you know," she teased, her heart racing at the compliment. Jasmine leaned in closer, a playful seriousness overtaking her features. "In that case, I'll have to make sure to flatter you every chance I get. I can't let you forget how amazing you are." Lila's heart fluttered. Their shared moments, the laughter, the impromptu painting session with the feisty baby otter, and now these light, tender exchanges, felt like the opening strokes of a beautiful painting yet to be completed. In knowing Jasmine and sharing their passions, she'd discovered a part of herself that she had long buried beneath layers of doubt and weariness. After a moment's pause, Lila looked down at the sleepy baby otter nestled in her lap, snoring softly. "You know, I might just have to name her something magical," she said softly, her gaze flicking back to Jasmine. "Maybe something that captures this moment." "Like what?" Jasmine asked, her curiosity piqued. "Maybe serendipity, since she brought us together tonight," Lila said, spreading her arms wide in an exaggerated gesture. "A beautiful twist of fate." Jasmine laughed, a sound so bright and genuine that it made Lila's heart swell with warmth. "I love it. Serendipity it is. And perhaps she's a little artist herself, making magical moments happen." With that, Jasmine gently reached over to pet the baby otter, who shifted but settled again, the furry embodiment of their whimsical evening. "You know," Jasmine said softly, "I've been surrounded by marine life and research so much lately, it's easy to forget the beauty outside of my studies. Tonight has been a beautiful reminder." Lila nodded in agreement, feeling the same way. "I think we both needed this, the chance to let go of our routines and find joy in creativity and connection. It's easy to get lost in the daily grind." Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Lila knew they would continue to explore this creative journey together, but more importantly, they would cherish the moments that breathed life into their passions and strengths. As the evening began to quiet, Lila felt a swell of gratitude and a hint of excitement for the future. Tomorrow would bring new sketches, new colors, and countless opportunities for shared experiences. They would work together on their own projects, expand their artistic boundaries, and perhaps explore the city's streets for unexpected inspiration. "Hey, before tonight ends," Jasmine said with a hint of mischief in her eyes, "can we make a plan for tomorrow? I'm thinking we could head to the bayou with our paints. I'd love to capture the scenery, and maybe even see some wildlife." Lila's heart raced at the idea, visions of sprawling cypress trees, and reflections shimmering on the water flitting through her mind. "That sounds perfect. I'll bring snacks, and we can set up a little picnic after we paint." "Deal," Jasmine grinned, her smile infectious. "And I'll bring the signature cookie recipe for our artistic fuel." With enthusiasm sparking between them, the night came to a close. Lila and Jasmine exchanged contact information and made plans to meet early the next morning. As Jasmine stood up to leave, she paused at the door, glancing back at Lila with warmth in her expression. "Thanks for tonight. You've made it truly special," she said sincerely. Lila smiled back, a warmth blooming in her chest. "Thank you for everything. I can't wait for our next adventure." As Jasmine disappeared into the night, Lila felt a sense of clarity wash over her. This was not just about art, it was about shared dreams, discovering new friendships, and embracing the beauty that exists when fate interjects in delightful ways. With one last glance at serendipity, the sleeping otter, Lila flipped the lights off and settled into bed, her mind racing with vivid images of tomorrow. She knew it was just the beginning, a canvas waiting for rich colors and intricate strokes. Nestled under her blankets, she allowed herself to drift into sleep with a heart full of hope and excitement. Tomorrow would be filled with adventure, creativity, and perhaps, just perhaps, one more magical moment to add to her ever-growing story.